Hello class, today we're going to be talking about the various methods of summoning you can use to bring out different monsters. Of course that's going to cover the new stuff like Pendulum monsters, Xyz monsters, Synchro monsters, but also fusions, rituals, and even monsters who can special summon themselves, or cards that can only be used to special summon certain monsters and not others. It's complicated, but with a little bit of a breaking down of the rules and the text of each card, I think we're going to be okay.
Now let's look at Pendulum monster cards. These are brand new cards that are going to take a little bit of getting used to, but once you master them, your decks will be that much stronger for it. So, Pendulum monster cards are a new type of card that blurs the line between monsters and spells. They can be summoned as monsters to attack and defend, or you can activate them as spell cards in your new Pendulum zones to activate extra special abilities and allow you to Pendulum summon. Before we talk about Pendulum summoning, let's talk about the various text on the Pendulum card. Here's the Pendulum effect. When you play this card as a spell card in your Pendulum zone, this is its effect. Some Pendulum monster cards may not have Pendulum effects, so the box may be blank. Here's the Pendulum scale. The Pendulum scale is a number that determines which monsters you can special summon during a Pendulum summon. The Pendulum scale of this card is 1. As for the monster effect, that's where it always is. So here's how you Pendulum summon. During your main phase, you can activate Pendulum monster cards as spells in your Pendulum zone. After you have one in each Pendulum zone, you can Pendulum summon a horde of monsters. First, once per turn, during your main phase, declare that you're Pendulum summoning. Second, check the Pendulum scales on the sides of your 2 Pendulum monster cards, then special summon as many monsters as you want from your hand and from your extra deck whose levels are between those scales. The cards that are summoned from your extra deck have to be face up. Whenever one of your Pendulum monster cards on the field, regardless of which zone it's in, or even if it's a monster or not, would be sent to the graveyard, place it face up on your extra deck instead. You can then Pendulum summon it back to the field later. Now let's talk about Xyz monsters. Xyz monsters are a powerful kind of monster. You can summon an Xyz monster whenever you control monsters that are the same level. Xyz monsters start in your extra deck, not in your main deck, and wait for you to call them into action. Now, as for the materials needed for an Xyz summon, you have to look at the Xyz monster's rank. Right here, this is the rank of your Xyz monster. Xyz monsters have ranks instead of levels. Stronger Xyz monsters have higher ranks, and this is a rank 4 Xyz monster. The materials are always listed on the card right here. You use 2 level 4 monsters as the Xyz materials to summon this monster. Xyz materials must be face up on the field before you can use them. So this is how you actually perform an Xyz summon. Choose an Xyz monster from your extra deck that you have the right Xyz materials for. The Xyz materials should be face up on your side of the field. Stack the Xyz materials on top of each other. Then, take the Xyz monster out from your extra deck and put it on top of the stacked materials. Whenever an Xyz monster tells you to detach an Xyz material, take one of the stacked Xyz material cards beneath your Xyz monster and then put it in the graveyard. Now let's look at Synchro monsters. Synchro monsters are placed in the extra deck, separate from the main deck, just like your Xyz, face-up Pendulum monsters, and fusions. You can special summon a powerful Synchro monster to the field in an instant just by using the levels of your monsters. They can be Synchro summoned from the extra deck by sending one face-up tuner monster and any number of face-up non-tuner monsters from your side of the field to the graveyard, when the sum of all their levels combined is exactly equal to the level of the Synchro monster. In order to Synchro summon a Synchro monster, you need one tuner. Look for tuner next to its type. The tuner monster and other face-up monsters you use for the Synchro summon are called Synchro materials. So in review, here's how you Synchro summon. During your main phase, you can declare a Synchro summon when the combined total levels of one face-up tuner monster and any number of face-up monsters who are not tuners you control are equal to the level of the Synchro monster you want to Synchro summon. After sending these Synchro material monsters from the field to the graveyard, take the Synchro monster from your extra deck and place it onto the field in either face-up attack position or face-up defense position. Here's a look at fusion monsters. Fusion monsters are also placed in your extra deck, not your main deck. They are summoned by using the specific monsters listed on the card, called the fusion materials, combined with a summoning card like polymerization. They usually have special abilities and a very high attack. If you have all the fusion material monsters listed on the fusion monster card in the places specified on the summoning card, you can activate your summoning card by placing it in the spell and trap zone. Send the fusion material monsters to the graveyard, then take the appropriate fusion monster from your extra deck and place it onto the field in either face-up attack position or face-up defense position. Finally, place your summoning card in the graveyard. If another effect causes your fusion materials to be sent to a place other than the graveyard when your summoning card resolves, send them to that other place, but the fusion summon still happens anyway. Remember that in order to use a fusion monster during a duel, it needs to be in your extra deck. Since fusion summons require specific cards, be sure to include those necessary cards in your main deck. Finally, let's look at ritual monsters. Ritual monsters are special monsters that are summoned with a specific ritual spell card, along with a required tribute. Ritual monster cards are placed in the main deck and cannot be summoned unless you have all the proper cards together in your hand or on the field. Ritual monsters generally have high attack and defense, and some have special abilities, just like fusion monsters. Here's how you ritual summon. When you have a ritual spell card, along with the matching ritual monster card in your hand, along with the required tribute, as listed on the ritual spell card, you can activate the ritual spell card by placing it in the spell and trap zone. If the activation of the ritual spell card is successful, tribute monsters by sending them from your hand or the field to the graveyard. The ritual spell card will list the required amount to tribute. After sending the tributed monsters to the graveyard, play the ritual monster card onto the field in either face-up attack position or defense position. Finally, place the ritual spell card in the graveyard.
That wraps up today's lesson, but we're also going to learn one last lesson at the end of each video. That's going to be a Japanese card term. For those of you who are really big fans of the anime, you might have been hearing repetitive terms and wonder, what is that? And for those of you who just want to learn Japanese, this could be fun. Personally, watashi wa nihongo ga skoshi wakarimasu, demo mada jousu ja arimasen. And that just means that I speak Japanese, but I don't speak it that great. But pronunciation is key, so hopefully with a little bit of help, you can learn how to say some of these terms, and you'll be able to use Japanese yourself in your duels, or maybe play against somebody foreign. Today's word is going to be really easy though, and we'll do more of these as each video goes on. It's just going to be your deck. Your deck is your deki. It's romanized as D-E-K-K-I, and it's just deki. Your main deck is your main deki. You'll notice the Japanese likes to borrow a lot of words from English, so you'll hear some of these terms and they'll sound pretty close to their English analogs. Alright, that's it for today. See you next time.